BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Don Eskridge, the designer of the Resistance and the Resistance Avalon and a host of other games. But we're also talking spicy hot games. And one of those you mentioned in the green room was For the Win or FTW. It looks like a Freedom and Freeze game.
It is a Freedom and Freeze game. And, you know, I think I wrote like 5 games on there. And this is just one of them. This is just the one that I played most recently. I don't even usually make comments on Board Game Geek. You know, you can make comments on your own lists.
Sure.
But what I wrote on there is what I'll say here, which is that as a 2-player game, I don't recommend it at all. But for but for 3 to 4 players, it's just a game about learning when to dive in and when to back off, because you're basically just trying to shed your hand of cards, but only one player will actually be able to shed down to their second to last card. So when you only have 1 card left, everyone scores. And if you only have 1 card left, you score that number of points. So if you only have the 28 left, you score 28. But if you have a 28 and a 24, you score 28 minus 24. So you score just 4 points.
You do want to get down to 1 card, but you want to get as you can.
So that, you want to get down to 1 card, but you have to recognize that only 1 player is going to do that. So you want the remaining cards in your hand, which are going to be subtracted from your highest card, to be as low as possible.
Okay.
But the thing is, having those low cards is tough because you need to always play higher cards.
Yes, yeah, so
you're just making an interesting choice.
Yeah, so it's a card shedder, but how are you shedding the cards? Is it your typical ladder game where you're playing cards in a higher sequence, or are you playing pairs, or how does that work?
It's super simple. It's just single cards. The number must always be higher. The numbers go from 1 to 60, but with fewer players, like with 3 players, you're only playing up to 36. And if you can't beat it, then you discard one of your own cards from your hand face up in front of you, take one of the cards from the middle pile into your hand, and then later on, and then the next player restarts the round. So basically from scratch. And then later on, you can use the card that you've laid face up in front of you as an additional, you can add that number to the card that you're playing from your hand. I know that all sounds kind of confusing.
No, it's a twist on another game. It sounds similar, at least, to another game he did called Fuji Flush. Did you ever play Fuji Flush?
I also like Fuji Flush. And I like these games because, you know, in my opinion, as a person who kind of moves around, and as a dad, I don't have a huge amount of time, but Fuji Flush, For the Win, these other small games that I like, you can play them with anyone. And you don't, like, you know, especially we as gamers, you know, we play games and we like to get good at games, but I really like games that don't require this super
rules overhead.
Depth. Yep. Rules, not just rules overhead, but also strategical depth. Like I like strategical depth, but if it's so much, the one player is just always going to beat everyone else, then it's not fun for new players. And I like to play with everyone, you know, not just gamers.
I'm liking the idea of FTW or For the Win. That's one of the things I liked about Fuji Flush is exactly what you said. I could bring it to anything, just a family game night, or even we have a little board game club at our local high school where my wife teaches. Mm-hmm. So, you know, she'll call me I don't know why she calls me out of all the people in the world, why is she calling me, but she gets me to go over there and I help the other teachers and the people that run it. And Fuji Flush is one of those games. Fuji Flush and another one is Scout. It's games that are relatively easy to teach. People already know how to count numbers and go higher. They like the idea in Fuji Flush of banging on the table and being on team 3, you know, and that's
right.
that team 3 thing is kind of what's reminding me in FTW, where you can play the card, even though it's still stuck in front of you, you can add to it kind of together, sort of like when people kind of gang up to try to beat one of those other cards. I know it's not the exact same thing, but I can see Freedom and Freeze's brain working. It also reminds me a little bit. He's got that series of little small box games like Fear and Flee and all these where that they all just manipulate these little cards and you don't have to read any instructions at all.
Yeah. He's got a lot of great ideas. And it's like the Fortress game, which is, I think it's kind of like Fear. It's like it's one where you learn it as you go.
And if flip over the first card and it tells you how to play the game. Right? Yeah, it's one of those games. I love those. So I have a particular family member that does not like learning new games at all. Okay. They don't want to sit there and go it. So, and this person will remain nameless, but I'll bring those games because I'm like, look, all we have to do is flip over one card. No one knows how to play this game. You're on equal footing here. and they love that. They love that style. They're like, okay, we can do that.
Nice. Okay, so clearly they're still willing to grok rules as you go.
Absolutely.
Because so that's.
But they're not going to sit there for a 20-minute teach. There's just no.
Okay.
Try
Gotcha.
to teach them viticulture. Didn't work. You know what I mean? Like tapped out after 5 minutes. No, it's just too long.
Well, that's one reason that I also like roll and write games these days, because they've like the teach is easier because you've got the map, you've got the card in front of you, which it shows you so much information. It gives so many visual cues as to like what the players will be doing.
And you're talking about The Choice?
Yes,
that right?
That's correct.
Tell me about this game. I don't know anything about The Choice, but I love roll and writes.
Nice. So yeah, I've played a lot of roll and writes, and actually that's kind of like my next sort of genre to think about getting into, because
are we going to see like Don Eskridge roll and write games?
I hope so. I think that's kind of something that I'm thinking about right now.
Maybe that's the one I can finally beat Sean Ramirez in. Do a Resistance Avalon roll and write, and I'll kick his butt.
Nice.
No, go ahead.
But no, I play a lot of roll and writes, and I think this is just a really nice one.
Okay, well, this one I'm looking at the picture right now. It's got very few components, right? Oh, and you've got the box there. Oh, great.
Yeah. So basically, you roll some dice, and then you got a choice. You've got this grid. So the dice have colors and numbers on them. I'm not trying to make a way that you can see that. And so basically, you can either make a line. With this one, you're using dice to sort of make a line, and the longer the line is, there you go. The more points you make, or you can use the colors to go around and earn points that way. But this game is similar, as I said, with For the Win, because you're choosing when to keep investing or drop out, because you don't use just the one side. If you don't feel like you can make any more points, then you can just flip the card to the other side, because you're going to use both sides and start on that one. And then basically looking at other players' points, you might try to rush the end. And I haven't explained everything about the game there.
Yeah,
but I think it has a bit more depth than your typical roll and write. So I like it. It's a nice one. And these games, this guy named like Reinhard Staup, I think he was part of NSV for a while, and now he made his own company, Kendi Games. And I would love to make games for them. So let's see what happens.
Kendi Games. I don't know this. Let's see if no, I don't recognize any of their games, but
they're new. They're new. That's why you don't recognize them.
I'm gonna keep an eye out. All of these look like small box games. Look pretty.
They all are. So I think The Choice is the best, and then Durchmarsch. I don't know if they all have English versions. That's one nice thing about
Durchmarsch.
Yeah, like march through. It's just this really easy gambling game, but it's fun.
They're all 2023 or 2024, so it's definitely a new company. Yeah. I like that. You're giving me some good ideas here. I want to take a look at these.